My apologies for any coughing during this video. Due to unspecified reasons, I do have a bit of a cough. It's a slow night in Seattle. Everyone is off living their lives while you wipe off the coffee mugs and prepare for another evening of slow business. The radio plays soft guitar as you run the espresso machine to make sure it's working. As you hear it howl into the night and watch the steam rise, you know that everything's ready to go. A bell rings as an old friend, and probably your only business for the night, walks in with a casual smile that you have grown accustomed to. She sits down and you both chat about life, work, and most of all, her order. A classic espresso, something to fight off the urge to sleep. As the bell continues to ring, more interesting characters walk into your establishment. Over the next few days, you find yourself becoming acquainted to a whole host of people who have found themselves at your door, whether they are there just for a refreshing beverage or to escape the problems that reside outside your cozy safe haven. Oh, and one more thing. Your friend is a journalist, there's little to no rain, which is odd for Seattle, and there's elves, vampires, werewolves, and almost every fantasy creature that you could think of roaming these Seattle streets. But it's nothing you're not used to. At the end of the day, they're still people. Welcome to the world of Coffee Talk. Developed by Toge Productions, this lo-fi wonderland takes place in an alternate universe where fantasy creatures and humans live together in modern-day Seattle. You run a coffee shop that is open only at night and normally only have one customer, your good friend Freya, the journalist. However, you begin to find more interesting customers walking through that door. As they pile in, you find out more and more about their lives as they spill the tea or converse with one another. There's a pop star, a rocky relationship, and even a werewolf that's best friends with a vampire. Brew your beverages and kick back as you observe the stories of these various individuals play out in front of your very eyes. Coffee Talk is an impressive game that uses well-written dialogue to carry out the story. Accompanied by soothing lo-fi music, along with the casual sound effects of brewing beverages, you can't help but feel calm while playing this game. Coffee Talk uses a pixelated art style that I would pretty much describe as heavily detailed 8-bit, and conveys the dialogue through text boxes on the screen. The characters do show emotion in their body language, but there is no voice acting in the game. Instead, we read the characters' dialogue and pair it with the expressions on the characters' faces to get an understanding of how they're truly feeling. There's a lot I do enjoy about this game, I won't deny it. It's a brilliant visual novel that allows players to interact with the world by making the beverages for their customers. The first thing I appreciate most about this game is the story. The story does a great job of taking fantasy and putting it into reality. Like The Wolf Among Us, we get a very down-to-earth look at various fairy tale creatures and watch them deal with what would be considered normal issues. Granted, fantasy elements are still addressed and play a heavy part in what the story is built around. However, it's very interesting seeing these creatures we normally associate with grand journeys and exciting adventures transported into a coffee shop as they look to just get a drink and get on with their day. The story uses well-written characters paired with exceptional dialogue to drive the story forward. Although this method was originally odd to me at first, I found it very enjoyable within minutes of playing the game. Speaking of the characters, each person in this game feels incredibly unique, and not just because they're fantasy creatures. Each individual has personal backstories that define who they are and how they interact with the people and world around them. As you play, you find yourself caring more and more about these characters' personal struggles and want nothing more than for them to come out successful. The attachment you end up having with these characters is deep and feels real because although you're observing their stories unfold like a book or movie, the game makes you feel as if you're in the very same room by giving you a limited amount of interaction. In a game like this, the dialogue is incredibly important, and quite frankly, they nailed it. Each character's dialogue feels unique to them even though it's just text on a screen. And the conversations are written so well that they progress the story forward in a unique way that really draws you in and makes you feel like you're actually participating in a real-life conversation. It's clever, it's witty, and encapsulates personality. Even without voice acting, the dialogue still feels unique to each character. I have to give massive props to Toge Productions for just how satisfying the dialogue is. It flows well and doesn't seem forced or choppy, and is a perfect vehicle for driving the story forward. In terms of the visuals and audio, the visuals weren't hyper-realistic by any means, but they were unique and enjoyable. They had fun with the art design, and although it's pixelated, it's satisfying to look at. This game's audio, however, is fantastic in its simplicity. It's stereotypical coffeehouse music, lo-fi beats and soft guitar, but it is used to perfection. Coffee Talk also uses background noise and specific sounds associated with coffee shops to do a great job with setting the scene and immersing us into the game. The dialogue scrolling noise can sometimes get a little repetitive, but that's honestly a very mild concern, and I don't believe it distracts from the game. Coffee Talk's incredible sound design with comforting music, along with sounds one would normally hear in a coffee shop, is one of the strongest tools used to transport players into this world. Even though the audio isn't inherently complex, it works to perfection and does exactly what it was set out to do. The last major positive I want to hit in this game would probably be included in the storytelling section for the most part, but I honestly think it did such a good job that it needs to be in its own moment. The storytelling in this game is executed effectively, but Coffee Talk also does an impressive job with its world building. I know not everyone is interested in lore, but in this game, the lore is very important. The writers knew that fact, so they sprinkled in little hints of world building throughout the game as you progress via newspaper clippings you read each day. These newspaper clippings detail grander issues going on in the world of Coffee Talk that eventually trickle down to the characters you interact with in the game. This world building element not only makes the Coffee Talk universe more interesting, but adds more depth and complexity to the characters as well. I appreciate good world building that fascinates me with what it lets me know, but also with what it hides, so I end up wanting to know even more. I'm going to be completely honest with you, I really have nothing to complain about with this game. The dialogue scrolling noise can be a bit repetitive, but I personally was not bothered by it at all. Originally when I finished the game, I felt slightly disappointed in the fact that you have no say in the outcome of the stories. However, when putting in more effort to understand Coffee Talk and what it was going for, I'm completely okay with this. The whole game is about putting these fictional creatures in real-world scenarios and telling you a compelling story. And since this game is trying to tell a story instead of being a choose-your-own-adventure, I think they did an amazing job. For what Coffee Talk was going for, Toge Productions accomplished their goal and did it in an impressive manner. Overall, I would give Coffee Talk a 9.5 out of 10. It's a very solid game with little to be improved. I can see why people wouldn't enjoy it if visual novels aren't their thing. However, this game operates within its element flawlessly. The reason I won't give it a 10 out of 10 is because the game doesn't have a lot of replay value, and the story feels a little short. Since the replay value isn't great, I would have appreciated a slightly longer story. However, this game still deserves a high rating and is a must-play, especially for visual novel enthusiasts. For those who are looking for a calm experience and a fun narrative to dive into, Coffee Talk is the perfect way to go and will provide you with an unforgettable experience that will leave you feeling satisfied with the ending and have you believing that you are the next great barista. Wait, is that just me? Never mind. Toge Productions knocked this one out of the park. If you're looking to play Coffee Talk, you can find it on various platforms such as Microsoft Windows, Mac OS, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Coffee Talk is available on Steam for $12.99 US dollars, and the game boasts an impressive 93% of its 1,600 players leaving positive reviews. I'm not sponsored by Toge Productions or anyone else affiliated with Coffee Talk and have not been sponsored for the creation of this video.